Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Matthew Lawrence Scigousky, your expert at unlocking, developing, and using assets derived from challenge, struggle, and adversity in life. And today I'm going to talk all about how to manifest things in your life. And I think that a lot of people struggle with this or don't have much success with it simply because there's a number of steps you have to do. And if you leave one of them out, it becomes really difficult. And I think that one of the other things is that people get confused on exactly what manifesting really is. Manifesting is a word of creation. And in order to create, we have to go into action. We don't wait for things to happen. We actually walk towards them. The other part of manifesting is the law of attraction. And I think sometimes people confuse the law of attraction with manifesting. It's definitely part of it, but it's not the whole picture. I think of the law of attraction as basically magnetizing yourself to the things that you want in your life. And when you do that, they actually kind of come towards you, but they only meet you halfway. And the manifesting part is you walking towards them. So when you do both of these things, you meet in the middle, you shorten the time and the distance to creating things in your life. I have a 5-step process that I use, that I've created over the years. And a lot of times, guess what? You learn by doing, right? You learn by doing what doesn't work and what does. So these 5 steps have worked really, really well for me. I've been manifesting some pretty amazing things in my life over the last 5 years, and I'm working on some really big things right now. But I'm going to give you some examples of things that I've done, that I've used this process on. I really believe that if you follow these 5 steps, you're going to have a lot of success with manifesting, but you got to do all 5. So let's dive right into what step 1 is. Step 1 is visualization. So what I want you to do is I want you to see whatever it is in your mind. You want to see that clear as day. You probably heard the expression that if you can see it in your mind, then you can have it in your hand. And what that really means is it means that what's in your mind is possible. If you believe something is possible, then you're going to have some faith and some conviction in going after it. When we think things aren't possible, we don't usually try. So the mere fact, if you can convince yourself, or you should know this, if you can see it there, then know it's possible. And then that's going to give you the conviction to actually move forward. But the visualization process itself is really, there's kind of an art to it. And let's talk about art, because what do artists do? You know, artists paint paintings. And if you ever go to a museum, if you've ever seen like a Picasso or a Monet or whatever, there's a lot of detail in a painting. And so the picture that I want you to paint in your mind should have a ton of detail. You know, whatever it is, from how this, from what it smells like to what it looks like, the colors, whatever that particular day is that you're going to attain this or reach this goal. Literally just break this down into as much detail as possible. The more you do, the higher the probability. Now, once we can see something in our minds and we can visualize it, then we're going to want to go ahead and move on to step 2. And step 2 is all about the feeling. It's about how you feel. If you are familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, I would highly recommend you check out his work. Just Google him. Amazing man who does some work all over the world. I think he's one of the most sought after speakers right now, and talks all, this is all about going into meditation, but he always says that the magic is in the feeling. And I actually firmly believe that as well. Think of it in terms of like, falling in love, getting that call that you got the job, that you got a raise, buying, you buy a house for the first time, you go on a date and you have chemistry with somebody, whatever it is, there's a feeling associated with that. And I think what we kind of lose sight of as human beings is that we work so hard to get to a place, and then we enjoy the feeling for a short period of time, and then what happens? Well, we move on to the next thing, or you only enjoyed it for a very, very, very short period of time. You can dwell in a feeling anytime you want once you've experienced it, or just putting yourself in it. And so what I like to do is things that I'm working on is I like to put myself in that feeling every single day. I'll give you an example. When I first time I got into medical device sales, I worked for a company called Stryker for a number of years. And my very first year with the company, I went to the national sales meeting. It was the first 3 months I was on board, and I got to watch all these people win awards. And I just remember feeling like, wow, this is so exciting. I mean, it was like going to the Academy Awards. I'm watching people get Rolex watches, cars, huge bonuses. And I just remember thinking, I remember visualizing myself getting that, having that happen to me. And I made a decision that day that the next year I was going to be one of those people. But the feeling I remember, and I'm like, I put myself in that feeling of what it would be like to walk on stage and get that award or get that watch, to the feeling of accomplishment. And what I did was I went into action that year and I worked my butt off, and I made that happen, but I thought about it all the time. And I think that's something that we just forget to do, is that we don't allow ourselves to feel these things on a regular basis. So that's step 2. These all work in conjunction, by the way, so they're not separate. We're going to combine them all together, but visualize it, feel it when you think about it. And then in step 3, what I want you to do is that you're going to actually write it out. And this is a really cool part of manifesting. I talk a lot about designed thinking, and you can design what you want to do. You can design what you want to create. Think of yourself as an architect, putting designs together for a building about where this beam goes and this room, or however something's going to look. There's all kinds of instructions. This is your opportunity to write out some instructions. And after you write them out, we're going to move on to step 4. But before we do, part of the writing out process also gives you an opportunity to get a little bit more detailed with what you see. You visualize it in your mind, put it on paper. What I like to do is I like to write it on paper. I put it on my phone. And after I've written it out and I've gone over it a few times, and sometimes I adjust it along the way as I'm working towards a particular goal, is that then I move on to step 4. And step 4 is about speaking it. Because once we've done the other 3, now we want to actually verbalize the things that we want to work towards, the things that we want in our life. And step 4, what I love about step 4 is that these are all working together. And the reason why is that we're doing these things to get them planted into our subconscious mind. When you speak something that you can see, that you can feel, that just becomes more and more powerful. And it's almost like the manifesting is creating, right? So we're creating this thing as we do these steps. And so the speaking part about it is as I like to do it a couple times a day for sure, usually first thing in the morning and then before I go to bed. The reason why is because of the demands, the distractions. You get busy in life, and when you get up in the morning, it's kind of like having this fresh field that's ready to be planted. It's been plowed, seeds are ready to go into the ground, and you have an opportunity before you get caught up in the day to do it right then in the morning. It takes a couple minutes, but read it on the paper until you've memorized it. And you're going to do this every single day. And I think what you'll find is eventually it will be in your mind. You'll plant it in your subconscious. And what I like to do as well is sometimes if I'm driving in the car, if I'm, whatever it is, in between appointments, I can do it any time of the day. It takes literally a minute or two, is I'll just sit there and I'll repeat this to myself. The more times you do it, the better. But that's the whole idea of speaking. And the reason why these things all work together, again, we're essentially planting seeds in our minds. This is our crop that we want to eventually, we want it to grow, we want it to sprout. But in order for that to happen, and this is the part that I think a lot of people leave out, because manifesting, it's not about waiting for things, it's not about hoping for things, it's about going into motion. Manifesting means to create, and in order to create, we have to take action. And what I want you to do in step 5 is I call water it. And we're going to water this seed by walking towards what we want. And the best example that I can use of doing this is I'll share with you how I bought my dream house about 7 years ago. And I went from a place of being in a really bad place in my life at 35 to starting to rebuild my life, putting all the pieces back together. And one day I used to take walks through this neighborhood in the town I live in. And I love this neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood. And one day I spotted a home. And I looked at this home and I just said, wow, that is just such a gorgeous home. And I don't live in some huge giant house. I have a 1920s craftsman style ranch. It's got a ton of character. It's a beautiful house. I just fell in love with it. And when I saw it, I said, gosh, I would really love to live in that house. So what do you think I did to manifest getting this house? Well, I took a walk in the direction of it without any evidence that it would happen. And the first thing I did was I actually walked up to the front door and I knocked on it. A wonderful lady answered. And I said, I introduced myself and said I lived on the other side of town. And I just said, I walked through your neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood. Really admire your home. And I just wanted to tell you that. And she was like, oh, it was so nice. And I said, can I give you my card? If you ever find yourself in a position where you have to sell it, I just want you to know that you have a buyer in waiting and I'll buy it on the spot. And she kind of chuckled and said, my husband and I are going to retire here. And I go, oh, I totally understand. I said, but take it anyways. You never know. And so I walked away with a smile on my face. It was a cute interaction. And I'm sure she thought, who is this guy? But I'm going to tell you something. I knew, I knew that it was done. From that moment, I knew that, okay, this seed has been planted, that I've started the wheels of creation in motion here. And I knew that it would happen. And I thought to myself, well, I think I had this feeling I would get a call sometime within the next 6 months to a year. And so I didn't wait for the phone call. What I did is I went into motion and I started making plans and preparations for what was coming my way and what I would need to do to get there. So again, 2 points in time, converging, law of attraction, manifesting, meaning walking towards, we come together to meet at a point. What I did is I started talking to a mortgage broker, figuring out what I would need to do, how much money would I need as a down payment, what type of things would I need to fix with my credit, what were the necessary requirements to make this happen. And I got a laundry list of things that I was gonna have to do. And guess what? I started doing them. I started preparing for the day I knew I would get that phone call. Because when I got the phone call, I wanted to be able to tell her, yes, I'm ready to buy your house. At that point in time, I wasn't ready to buy it. If she had said, yeah, I'd love to sell you the house today, I wasn't ready to buy the house. I wouldn't have been able to. And so when I walked away, I knew that when I got the call, I was going to have to do the things that were required to make sure I could say yes. And so that's what I did. And I think when you do that, actually, I know when you do that, the universe kind of smiles and says, well, look at this person. Look what they're doing. They're thinking about something. They're visualizing it. They're speaking about what they want. Boy, they've written it out. And man, they're feeling it. But they're actually walking towards this thing with no indication that it can be done. And they're doing it anyways. And you know what? I firmly believe the universe kind of smiles at someone who does that and says, well, we're going to help them now. Because you're proving yourself that, you know what, I'm worthy of this. That it doesn't matter what anybody else says, that I can create this, and I can create it, and I'm going to walk towards it. And that's just, I would tell you, I've done it so many times that I just know it to be true. So I know it works. But guess what happened? I'd made all the preparations. About a year later to the date, I got the phone call. And I wasn't even really surprised. I was just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, hi, how are you? And she's like, you're not going to believe this, but my husband and I have to relocate to St. Louis. He's been transferred. And we never thought we were going to have to sell this house, but we have to sell it. Would you like to buy it? And I said, absolutely, I would love to buy it. and I was actually completely ready to do so. And so that's how I actually manifested my dream house where I'm recording this video today. And I'll tell you, it's one of the coolest things that I've actually ever done. And I share it with you only as an example so that that, there's really nothing totally out of grasp. I think when your heart's in the right place, when you're doing something good, in order to get, I had to give. And that's what manifesting really is. It's not about just sitting around waiting to receive things. It's that you're going into motion and you're giving along the way. You're giving the things that are going to be needed to do whatever it is you want to do. And then by combining that with, well, let's say this, you're attracting things along the way, right? Because now you're open to the possibilities coming into your life. And I believe the universe looks at that and says, wow, this person's magnetized, and then things start coming to you. That's where, like, you've probably heard the expression, things come to you out of nowhere. When you walk towards them, they do. When you're magnetized towards them. So that's how it works. It's 5 steps. Check out the PDF. I always create a PDF at every one of my videos. It's just a summary sheet. But again, 5 steps. Visualize, feel it, write it, speak it, and then I would say number 5 is water it, which go into action and start walking towards it. If you liked the video today, hit that like button. I would love it if you subscribed as well. Like I say, I do this every single week. I'm dropping also short videos. Check those out. 101 Thoughts to Change Your Life. There's a special promotion going on with that right now. When I release the 101st video, I'm going to be giving away some money to whoever leaves the 101st thought or 101st comment. So check those out. They're starting to gain some traction. They're really cool, and they're all part of my book, 101 Thoughts to Change Your Life. But, I hope you found some value in this video today. I really enjoyed doing it because this topic, I think people struggle with and throw in the towel. And I hope this has given you some clarity in how this actually works. It works for me. I know it can work for you. If you have questions, please let me know. I'll share every bit of information I have to help you along the way. So until next time, this has been Matthew Lawrence Scigousky. I'll see you.